Now keep in mind, when I first saw this movie, this was way back in the day, like middle school. I was asking my parents, what is the scariest movie you've ever seen? Everyone said the same thing. Blair Witch Project, Blair Witch Project, Blair Witch Project, Blair Witch Project. We watched the Blair Witch Project. There's no scary music. As a matter of fact, there's no music. There's no monsters. You don't see the witch. No special effects, very low quality. I'm just like, hey, this movie's trash. So I was like, you know what, one day I'm gonna rewatch the Blair Witch Project, and I'm just pounding my freaking Pinot Grigio. I'm such a basic white girl. I'm stressed out of my mind. The freaking ending goes on. I'm like, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be talking about the Blair Witch Project. Oh, your boy did it. Your boy's pulling out the classics. Oh, I know. But hey, man, there's not a lot coming out right now, but October is gonna be lit. But I still wanted to do this review, even though this is a super old movie, because when I rewatched it, holy shit, I was terrified. I mean, this movie really scared me to my core, so I gotta come talk about it. Now, before I get into this review, your boys gotta come clean. Your boys gotta come clean, bro. The first time I watched this movie, I didn't like it. I said it. As a matter of fact, I'll go one step further.
I thought it was trash. How about that?
Now, keep in mind, when I first saw this movie, this was way back in the day, like middle school. I was with my mom. It was Halloween. And like I said, this was around the time when I was just getting into horror movies. I was watching movies like Insidious, Sinister. So I was conditioned to big jump scared, loud sounds and scary monsters and special effects and all these freaking things inundated in us. So I remember I was asking my parents, what is the scariest movie you've ever seen? Like, hands down, the most terrified you've been when watching a movie. And it was a unanimous decision. Everyone said the same thing. Blair Witch Project, Blair Witch Project, Blair Witch Project, Blair Witch Project. Oh, you want to say so? You want to add something too? What are you gonna say? Blair Witch All right, I guess we're watching the Blair Witch Project then. Now keep in mind, at this point, I'm excited. The Blair Witch Project sounds like a cool name. Everyone says it's super scary. Everyone's on the same page because, you know, sometimes this person says this person says that, and which one do I pick? But at this point, I'm excited. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be some fucking fucked up shit, man.
What am I in for?
Halloween comes around, my mom's like, let's watch the Blair Witch Project. Let's do this thing. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
we watched the Blair Witch Project. There's no scary music. As a matter of fact, there's no music. There's no monsters. You don't see the witch. No special effects, very low quality. I'm just like, hey, this movie's trash. Hey, it's okay. It's all good. But you guys are a bunch of b****s. Am I right? It's all good. Hey, we all have different times, different time periods, but it's okay to say that this generation has surpassed you in terms of scary movies. I mean, dear Lord, I was so disappointed. I was like,
This movie sucks balls.
being so harsh, but you get the point. I didn't like the movie. Now, keep in mind, I was stupid back then. This is stupid infant brain Enzo, okay? I didn't have good taste in cinema. Fast forward to now. Broke college kid, alcoholic, aka the smart, sophisticated movie brain Enzo. Okay? And now I can appreciate good cinema because, as a matter of fact, some of the stuff that I was saying earlier is the stuff I hate about horror. The jump scares and the loud noises, and they just overuse it. So making the story way too long, let's get back on track. I'm in college and I'm obsessed with I am obsessed with found footage horror movies. That's just my favorite genre. VHS is like my favorite horror franchise ever. I love movies like Alien Abduction, Phoenix Forgotten, Skinwalker Ranch. So I just love found footage horror, all right? You get the point. So I was like, you know what, one day, hey, you love found footage horror. The godfather of the found footage genre is the Blair Witch. Why don't we give it another shot? It's been over a decade. I don't remember it that well. And you know, my mom sometimes would rewatch movies and she tells me, you know, the second viewing, you have a different opinion. So I was like, you know what? Hey, the stars have aligned. I'm gonna rewatch the Blair Witch Project. Now, keep in mind. When I saw the movie, I was going through a depressed state. Now, this is relevant to the story. Number one. Number two, rainy day, gloomy day. Affects your mood. Don't care what you gotta say about it. So those two relevant to the story. Third factor, got so drunk because I'm an alcoholic. So I'm like ready for this experience, man. I'm drunk, depressed, it's raining. I'm like, let's do this. And I am just so invested in the characters. I feel like I'm in the movie. I'm in the forest with these guys. And I'm just pounding my freaking Pinot Grigio. Such a basic white girl. Such a basic white girl. Anyways, the whole movie's creepy. I'm stressed out of my mind. The freaking ending goes on. I'm like, so drunk. And then the movie ends. One of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life. Hands down, one of the most horrific experiences I've ever seen. Oh my God. Look, guys, here's the thing. It really mainly boils down to one thing, the acting. That's what made this movie. That's what made the Blair Witch. Hot take, clip it. But I'm being dead serious. The acting was phenomenal in this movie. I mean, I felt the emotion, I felt the stress, the anxiety, the fear. You're like, I'm telling you, you feel like you're with these people in the forest. And there's so many factors that we can go into talking about this, because if you haven't done research on this movie, if you look, like, there's many scenes, the actors didn't know the scares that they were going to encounter. For example, the tent scene where you hear like the kids in the background and then the tent starts shaking violently. The actors had no idea. Zero. Nilch. Nada. And then the directors played with boomboxes, the kids playing around, and then they started shaking the tents. And so those are genuine reactions. That's not even acting. Those are their real reactions. So a lot of it's not even acting, it's just them reacting. Oh my God, I'm repeating myself. React. So look, what I'm trying to say is, shout out to the actors, because they did a great job in this movie. I know they didn't become famous or rich, or none of them had like full acting careers after this, but in this movie, nailed it, bro. Nailed it. A+ performance. I mean, truly. Another fun fact for you is that like the super iconic shot where it's zoomed into her face and you can see her nostrils and like the boogers coming out. By the way, if you haven't seen Scary Movie, they make fun of that scene, and it is one of the funniest scenes in the movie. But back to this scene, the actress had no idea that the camera zoomed in. She thought she had her whole face in the shot. And then the directors afterwards like, you know what, we're gonna keep it. But this was not written in the script. This is what I'm saying. You can't write this shit, bro. It just, the stars aligned, man. It's an accidental gem and they used it, and it's just it's funny to think that that's one of the most iconic parts of the movie. Obviously, the next thing we gotta talk about is the marketing campaign. As an aspiring filmmaker, I make my own little horror shorts. If you haven't seen them, go check those out. But when you see these filmmakers have these super low budgets and then get these massive returns on their investments, that shit motivates you, bro, because you're like, wow, I can't. Obviously, movies that have $100 million budgets, you're like, well, how can I do that? I don't have that kind of money. What is it? Had like a budget of around like 200 grand, and then they made like $248.6 million. I mean, that's nuts, bro. That is insane. You can say this movie sucks all you want, them bitches are laughing to the bank. That movie made so much money. And like a more recent example of something similar to this is a movie like Skinamarink. If you guys seen Skinamarink, that movie was made for like 15 grand and it made like over $2 million in the box office. Dude, shit like this makes me motivated, excites me, and it's just like, yes, the possibilities are endless. But that's the one thing that I'm sad I did not get to experience, is the marketing campaign of this movie back in the day when it was happening. Because my parents told me like they thought this shit was real, and this was before like the internet was very, very poppin' and we could look everything up. People legitimately thought, because the whole guys, the whole concept of found footage is we find people that are presumably dead or we don't know, we find their camera, and then we kind of put together the story from the footage that we found. Hence the name
found footage.
But now there's a whole genre on it, so we know it's fake. But that movie, that was like one of the first ones, and people legitimately thought it was a real found footage movie. Not actors, not paid. They thought some college students went out in the woods, died or lost, whatever, and they found that footage and they presented it to us. That is just the concept of it is terrifying. And if they actually believed it, I mean, you could just imagine how much scarier that movie is. I wish I got to experience that. I did a little bit with Paranormal Activity because I grew up in Carlsbad where it was shot, so there was a little bit of talk around the town and like, is it real? Is it not? What's going on? Like, have you heard about this? But obviously, you could definitely look it up on the internet and they would have told you that it was not real, but I did experience it to a slight effect with that movie, but I could just only imagine what it was like because the Blair Witch was that on steroids. So what's actually scary about this movie? We talked about the acting, we talked about the marketing, but what is it about this movie that's frightening? What got me this time? Well, the scary part about this movie, because you don't see anything, so it's the fear of the unknown, which is the scariest, by the way. If you think the scariest thing is monsters, ghosts, paranormal stuff, whatever it is, It's not. It's the fear of the unknown. When you don't know something, that's what's the scariest. Now, I know that's everyone said this already about the Blair. I'm not breaking ground here, but another thing that I find scary is just the reaction of the people. That's what's scary. Not just the fear of the unknown, but seeing people melt down and just lose their minds. That in and of itself is a very scary process to watch, because you've seen other movies do it very quickly. This is a slow burn, and you slowly see them start to like decay mentally and just like lose it. That is terrifying. That is what makes, to me, the Blair Witch a terrifying experience, especially when you're depressed and drunk and it's raining. That doesn't help. But last thing I wanted to mention, the ending, bro. This has to be one of the best horror movie endings. If not it's probably number one. Argue down below in the comments. Name me a better. One of my favorite horror movie endings is Insidious, but obviously that's just a personal favorite. That is no way one of the greatest horror endings, like compared to the Blair Witch. So I put Blair Witch number one. It's just the perfect ending. You're like, what is going on? The stress is at a high, the anxiety is at a high, and then it just all finishes and you don't see anything. Terrifying, bro. So that is my experience watching the Blair Witch Project the second time around, which I encourage you, if you've seen movies that you hated it, you were so sure that you did not like that movie and you only seen it once, it's been a while, I encourage you to rewatch it just to see, what do you think? Because let me tell you, I thought nothing of the Blair Witch Project the first time I saw it, and the second time, it's gotta be in my top 10 horror movies of all time, and some of the scariest things I've ever experienced was through that movie. So that's it for my review for the Blair Witch Project. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna do more reviews like this. If you like it, hit that like button, comment down below what movies you want me to review, and stay tuned because October, my favorite month's coming up. Halloween season, we got some good stuff. We got the new VHS dropping. We got Five Nights at Freddy's. So get ready, stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.